Hello, and welcome to Save Your Sanity, Help for Toxic Relationships. I'm Dr. Rhoberta Shaler, and we're going to be talking about how and why hijackals, those relentlessly difficult people, reject the idea of equality. They reject it with every cell of their being because they cannot allow equality to stand in a relationship. They just can't. And if you don't recognize that, you might keep hoping that somehow there's going to be equality in your relationship. And the basic, most fundamental thing, and for many of you, I'm sure you've listened to episode 115 on the 3 must-haves of a healthy adult relationship. And if you have, you know that number 1 is equality. The most basic, the most fundamental thing to have a healthy adult relationship is equality. And hijackals won't give it, won't allow it, won't stand for it. Yeah, sure, for a hot minute, they will pretend, or it'll be okay, or they're very happy, or they've just received supply from someone else, so they have a little largesse in their system. But on the whole, you are not going to get equality from a hijackal. Have you noticed that? So I thought I would do this episode just to emphasize the many ways of their inability to create, to have an interest in, certainly not to sustain anything that looks like equality. And you must have it. You just simply must have it, or you're always going to feel less than. You're always going to be worn down, torn down, and put down. And whether it's subtle or sarcastic or just plain ugly, it's going to happen. So understanding it, recognizing it can help to say, yeah, there it goes again. Inequality, because equality is not available to me. And, when you're in a relationship with a hijackal, the best they can do sometimes is put positive things in a negative tone. That's the most that they can give. And that's very difficult because hijackals must keep the upper hand. And when I was thinking about it, I thought, what is this upper hand? Where did that ever come from? And it really makes sense where it came from in the context of the hijackal. It comes from a 15th century game that people played. They took a stick and then they put their hands one over the other in it, and whoever got the upper hand won. Well, isn't that a lot like a relationship with a hijackal? Like you say something and they say something more or something different to negate what you just said, or to be more right than you were. And they keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it to get the upper hand. That's why you can't have equality. That's why it is unavailable from a hijackal. Now, for those of you who haven't heard my term before, hijackals, I created it so that we wouldn't be talking about diagnoses, we wouldn't be talking about the DSM, we wouldn't be talking about any of that. We would be talking about the patterns, traits, and cycles of these relentlessly difficult people. So my definition of a hijackal is a person who hijacks the relationship for their own needs and purposes, and then relentlessly scavenges it for power, status, and control. So if by nature they're going to scavenge it for power, status, and control, they're always looking for getting the upper hand. Always, always, always. Therefore, what? No equality. Not possible. So it's a big thing to say, okay, I keep asking for it, I keep fighting for it, I keep looking for it, I keep hoping for it, and yet it remains unavailable. It always will remain unavailable. So reconcile yourself to that. I've done lots and lots of videos on many aspects of life with hijackal parents or partners, siblings, coworkers, all of that, even on your adult children. However, what's really clear about all of those is the hijackal is set on not allowing you to be equal to them. Now, whether that's the overt hijackal who is, I am the king of the castle, I am the queen of the day, I am the one who rules the roost, you do what I say, all of that kind of thing. Or they're the more covert type, is, oh, nobody cares about me. So you really have a pity party and they won't allow you to be worse than them. It doesn't matter. It's still gaining the upper hand. So important to see. And equal opportunity in the relationship is not available. So you're hoping for it. And you think, okay, let me get it. Let me get exactly what do they want. So you listen and you ask carefully. Like, if it could be any way you want, you say to the hijackal, tell me the tiniest details. What would it look like, sound like, feel like that would make you really, really happy? So they tell you. And so you do exactly that. And you think, oh, I got it. It's really going to work this time. And as soon as you do it, you kind of approach them and it feels like they may be pleased, they may be receptive. Then all of a sudden the hijackal realizes this is equality and changes the discussion. And they'll say, well, you should have done it earlier. You didn't do it when I wanted you to, so why are you doing it now? Okay, so you finally learned, but you're a slow learner. How long do we have to be together before you know what I want? And I don't have to go through this. So they immediately take away the possibility of equality. And that's one of the ways that they operate in extremes. And I've spoken about that a lot in the black or white, all or nothing thinking videos. But hijackals are unable to not only have equality, but they're unable to see the gray between black and white. So it's all or it's nothing, but there's nothing in between. They can hold on to all, they can hold on to nothing, but they're no good at all the gray possibilities, potential. Maybe we could agree, maybe we could resolve conflict. No, because they have to be right. So it's either this extreme or that extreme. So therefore, no equality again. And when you have those extremes, that's when they sort of end the conversation. They will end a conversation that you would hope that there was some give and take and some room to grow in, with immediately doing the coup de grace, the ending thing to say, well, you are just never worth trying to solve anything with, and off they walk. Again, no equality. They need the upper hand. They need to win. A hijackal's main purpose, every breathing moment, is to win and be right. Now, it doesn't matter if they're overt or covert, that's still what they need. And so they are looking for the win. How can I get you to do what I want? How can I get you to believe what I say? How can I get you to forget what I've done? Going for the win, going for the win. So something that will get them the win in this moment may not get them the win in the next moment. So therefore, you're not going to get consistency between what they said in this moment and the last moment. And so there cannot be an equality. Do you see that? So you are always going to be in a relationship where there is inequality. The big ask for yourself is that okay with you? And if it isn't, what are you going to do about it? But to really embrace that, I finally get it. There is no potential for equality here. Yes, as I said earlier, every now and again, they can come really, really close because they want something, or they want you to do something, or they're afraid you're going to leave them. So they give you some pseudo equality, some little future faking promise of equality, something that actually sounds like they might think they may have one day in a faraway planet ever considered making a mistake. But you know it doesn't pan out. It doesn't last. And it isn't there fully, because hijackals have less than no interest in equality or owning up to what they do. So if you're never going to own up to what you do, how are you ever going to have equality? Not going to happen. But they want you to own up to what you do and to what you didn't do. They'll always find some way of making you wrong. They will even gaslight you into an apology that you are apologizing for something that you didn't do or have no idea why you're apologizing, but they will do it to have the upper hand because they want an apology from you because it makes you lesser and therefore eradicates the possibility of equality. Yes, so because they're lacking in compassion, they don't care what you want. They don't care what you need. They don't really care what would make you happy. And because they don't tell the truth, they don't tell the truth to themselves, so therefore they don't tell the truth to other people, they are not going to enter into a conversation that ever finds them on the wrong side of right. So that's another way they express inequality. And they won't share the spotlight. So the two of you at any time cannot be telling a story. Have you noticed that? Because if you and your partner, you and your parent are telling a story and you start to get some traction and people are interested, then they have to interject something that either makes you wrong or makes the story different or takes it in a different direction, or, oh no, you've got that wrong. And then you say, yeah, but, and then they're on top of you again, gaining the upper hand. That's the way it goes. And when we see it and don't expect different, then we can start to whip up those rose-colored glasses. And when we're wearing rose-colored glasses, you cannot see red flags clearly. So please keep your rose-colored glasses in the drawer when you're around a hijackal, because you need to see what's in front of you and you need to see it accurately. And it's so important. Hijackals really consider you as kind of disposable, kind of dispensable. When I was speaking a lot around the country and other countries, and we were talking about that feeling like, well, I have to do this because this person can't do it without me. There was this feeling of indispensability, and it made you feel like, oh, I really have a reason. I really do this. And I was talking about stress a lot at the time. So you get very stressed by feeling indispensable. Like, I'm really sick, but I have to go to work because my boss can't get along without me. That feeling of indispensability. And I would say, do you want to know how dispensable you really are? It's like this. Get a glass of water. Put your finger in it. Take your finger out and see where the hole is from where your finger was. Isn't that much like living with a hijackal? You're not indispensable, but you keep wanting to fill their needs. And you're filling needs for someone who has no intention of filling your needs. That's not healthy. Because back to episode 115, first of all, you have to have equality, and then you have to have reciprocity. And you're not going to get that from a hijackal. But we're talking about equality today. Let's stick with that. And so you may think that you're indispensable to propping them up and their self-esteem and making them feel good and making sure things go well for them. But they are not in any way concerned about doing that same thing for you. I know you don't want to think about it. You don't, oh, well, one day they did. Yeah, I'm talking about usually. Usually, they are not there for you. They are not there to lift you up, to support you, to share with you, and to do something called teamwork and partnership. They're not there for it because they will not allow equality. So you can see the pattern developing here is very, very clear. And hijackals want status. So therefore, they have to be better than, or something has to be much worse, or much bigger, or more obvious, or the best there ever was. Hijackals are always using superlative terms for their behavior. It was the worst, it was the best, it was the most, it was the greatest, it was the least. They're always seeing themselves as the thing that was the largest possible, whether it's positive or negative. And so their status, their need for status, means there's no equality. But remember what I said about them always having to win? There's another part to it. Their need for victory means that you will never have fairness because they must win. So therefore, their need to win makes it impossible for there to be fairness because they're always out to have more than you do, to be more right than you are, to remember things more accurately. It's endless. And if you've been hooked on hope, and I talk about that a lot, I know, but if you've been hooked on hope for a long time, maybe this episode will help you to see that being hooked on hope is really misusing your energy because you're hoping for equality. Basically, that's your hope. Deep down, you would just like to be seen as an equal partner, an equal team member, an equal human. And they are dedicated to you not, but they're dedicated also to making you try to win that equality. If only you would do this, if you would manage this, if you earned this, if you gave me this, then maybe I would see you as equal. And you get hooked on hope for that future faking. And if you're not familiar with the term future faking, you can look up my episode or two on it. And you will find out what that's all about. Because equality provides balance. And you're not going to have a healthy balance in a relationship with a hijackal. Now, whether you stay with the hijackal or not, I'm not talking about that in this moment. I'm talking about recognizing the relationship you're in if you're in a relationship with a hijackal, because these are the things you need to notice. Then when you notice them, when you actually see them in the relationship, you can then make a decision about whether that's okay with you or not. Or you can play with it a little bit and see if you can make any inroads, or if it just provides you with feedback that, oh no, there's no possibility of equality here. I know it's sad, and you may feel very defeated by it. You'll surely feel disappointed and probably at some level infuriated and frustrated by it. But we need to see it nonetheless. Because equality also provides a basis for coming to an agreement that works for both people. And equality is not present, so getting an agreement that works for both people is very difficult, if not impossible, with a hijackal. Because if your constant focus is winning, which is every hijackal's waking moment, they don't know that. They don't recognize that often. They don't get up in the morning and make that decision. It's just how they respond to their past life and experience as a child and earlier before you were in their life. Or even if it's your parent, that would be the case. But if your constant focus is on how do I be more right? How do I be more accurate? How do I get more? You're not going to have an interest in equality because you're trying one-upmanship or one-up-womanship every moment. And it's not going to work out to create an equation where there is equality. It's just not going to do it. So you can see how this loathsomeness of equality is to a hijackal is going to create some tension. It's going to create tension that they want to make sure that they always have that upper hand. And it's going to create tension in you because you never know when they're going to put that hand on you and say, nope, nope to you, nope to you. I get what I want. It has to be my way. My needs need to be met. So that's hand over hand in that way. And it also contributes to vigilance, where you're with them for quite a while, and instead of thinking your own thoughts, when you're perhaps thinking of them coming home, if it's your parent or your partner or even an adult child coming home and being demanding and being critical and judgmental and nasty, that instead of thinking your own thoughts, you're already thinking, what do I have to do to keep them happy? Is there anything around here I should do so they won't complain? Have I missed anything? Did I forget anything? Did I do everything they asked? And you are therefore giving your mind and your body and your concerns over to the hijackal, and they're not even there yet because of your vigilance or hypervigilance. Keeping them happy becomes your concern, at least keeping them on some kind of even keel is easier to stand and live with than when they are up and down and up and down. But it's not in your control. You are in your control. And when you start to realize that there isn't a possibility of equality here, how will I do things differently? So we'll get that tension, we'll get that vigilance, but we'll also start questioning our confidence. Do I really know what I'm doing? Do I really know what I want? Is this okay with me? We start having a lot of questions in that regard about ourselves, our self-worth, our self-knowledge, our self-concept, and that affects our self-confidence and our self-esteem. Because they're very critical humans. You've noticed that, right? Everything is not to their liking. They're a bit like the Red Queen in Alice in Wonderland. Everything is just sort of off with their heads, off with their heads. I don't care. I am the one who makes the decisions. Now, when you start really getting into it and thinking about it, which I'm sure you already have, or you wouldn't be listening to this, you realize that you're getting put down, worn down, torn down, bit by bit, all the time. And that's a great demonstration of no equality. And you're being devalued, maybe even degraded, so that they can always be on top to gain the upper hand. So how are you going to resolve issues with somebody who always wants to win? We can have all kinds of strategies, but if the person is dedicated to winning and also has no problems lying, you're never going to have equality to resolve an issue that will be to the benefit of both of you. So equality is the number one thing in creating a healthy adult relationship, and equality is not available from a hijackal. Do you see the problem? You absolutely have to have this, and this is not available from a hijackal. We have a problem. And so if you don't believe me, you think that's all possible, just try divorcing one. Then you will find out how unequal things will be. And for those of you who have moved in that direction, you thought they didn't care about so many things because they'd never cared before, but you divorce them and all of a sudden they want everything. It's because they have to win. So there will be less equality than ever before when you begin the divorce proceedings. So I hope this has helped so that you understand just that one piece. If equality is, and I believe it is, the most important thing as a basis for a healthy adult relationship, and it's unavailable, how are you going to view your relationship with the hijackal now? Now, there are lots of things that you can do, and if you want to talk to me about them, I do offer that new client one-time offer of a full hour consultation for only $97 at beaclient.com. If you want to talk about it with me and others, come over and join my Emerging Empowered community. As part of that community, you get 3 group calls a month where you can ask me your questions. That's at joinintoday.com, joinintoday.com. And of course, you can always find me at emergingempowered.com. All of my books, all of the courses, everything is there at emergingempowered.com. So think hard and long about the potential for equality in the relationship that you're thinking about as you listen to this. It is unavailable and unattainable. Do you still want to keep going in the direction of hope? Maybe now it's time to start thinking, what am I going to do to think about this differently now that I understand that equality is what's been missing? And I know now it's unavailable. So think about that. And until we meet again, take very good care of yourself because you're precious and you matter. Talk soon.